This is definitely not a battle of the sexes in any way. It's just our mission to introduce more people into the sport.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast, inspiring real women with a passion for fishing and the outdoors to go get their adventure on. Now, here's your host, Angie Scott and Barb Carey.
Welcome to the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm your host, Angie Scott. My co-host, Barb Carey, is getting ready to host another awesome fish school, and she's going to be doing some muskie fishing from a Hobie kayak in the very near future. Can't wait to hear about those adventures and share them with you all. If this is your first time listening, we're so happy you found us. I hope you like what you hear and find some inspiration from the show. Please be sure to subscribe on iTunes or Google Play so you can be sure not to miss any future episodes. The show comes out weekly every Tuesday. On today's episode, I feature a conversation I had with Christine Atkins and Jackie Kutzer from Orvis. Orvis has been a leader in the fly fishing and wing shooting industry for well over 150 years. In the past few years, they launched a new campaign called 50-50 on the Water. The goal of this campaign is to reach gender parity in the sport of fly fishing by 2020. That is a pretty lofty goal, but a very important and noble one I think we can all agree to support. Without further ado, please enjoy my chat with Chrissy and Jackie. Jackie and Chrissy, thank you so much for being on the Woman Angler and Adventurer podcast. I'm super excited to have you both on the show. I absolutely love the things that Orvis is doing to include and promote women in the sport of fly fishing, and I know a lot of listeners of the show are big fans, so welcome.
Well, thank you, and thanks for having us.
So first off, would each of you mind taking a moment to just briefly introduce yourselves and tell us a little bit about the how and the why you work with Orvis and what your current roles are there?
Sure. My name is Jackie Kutzer. I'm currently the designer for our outdoor catalogs. So I design the fishing and hunting catalogs. I joined Orvis in 2006, so I've been here for a little over 12 years now. And I came in as a catalog production manager, working mostly on women's catalogs. And it was in the last year and a half or so that I moved to outdoor. So it's really an exciting space to be working in.
And hi, I'm Chrissy Atkins, the digital merchandising manager here at Orvis. And so a lot of things in the web world, and have dabbled in all the categories of product that we sell, and was fortunate to be invited to be a part of this 50-50 on the Water initiative a few years ago by Steve Hemkins, who's the vice president of our rod and tackle division. So very excited to kind of get to turn one of my passions into this amazing project. So
yeah, and I definitely want to get into that. And so you both have your roles, but then this is something you've taken on kind of additionally to kind of spearhead for the company. So I imagine that that's probably a little bit of a challenge when you've got your already day-to-day, and then also kind of doing this on the side, I guess. What's that been like, and like balancing that?
Well, I think it definitely comes with a challenge, but it's something that Chrissy and I are both really passionate about, and I think other people see our passion. And we actually have a community now here of over 30 men and women who divide and conquer kind of, and really have formed subcommittees that touch all parts of our business. So I think that's been a really great help. And we're also, too, building our network outside of these walls, and we have almost 200 people that are kind of our 50-50 advocates, boots on the ground across the country. So we are really starting to tap into those folks, mostly women, but also men, too, for anything we need. If there's an event in their area that someone needs volunteer help. But, you know, it's been, I think, Chrissy, you probably agree, it's been a really exciting journey for us because we've taken on things like project management and almost creative direction and you know, business tactics and marketing, and it's been really awesome. It's been a really awesome journey, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, absolutely. We certainly could not have pulled this off without all those folks that Jackie mentioned. It is for sure a labor of love, but you know, it has helped to have that team working alongside us to to pull all the pieces and parts together. And then the other part that's kind of fun is we launched the initiative knowing that we were certainly not going to have everything right and wouldn't be able to deliver on all of the things that we wanted to do in the first year. So we've kind of had this staged approach, which has certainly helped from that respect. And just trying to make sure that we're listening to folks out there and respond to the things that they're looking for from us in terms of, education and building community and things like gear, and just, continuing to push it forward and improve on it as we go, as opposed to needing to have everything nailed out of the gate, which has been a lot of fun.
So we have a lot of listeners to this podcast who are very much into fly fishing, but we also have a large segment who are not. And we have a lot of women who listen who are into hunting and other outdoor activities. They may not be as familiar with Orvis, which is a company that's been around a really long time. Would you mind giving everyone just a quick background on Orvis and what they're all about?
So Orvis has been around since 1856.
Crazy.
Started very much, right? It's pretty incredible. Started very much as a catalog company. So we've had our roots in catalog for many, many years. Fly fishing and wing shooting are at the heart of the brand. We obviously sell other things, but fly fishing and wing shooting and the idea of protecting resources because we are, choosing to use them in that outdoor space through fly fishing and wing shooting is really important. So, we're committed. We've got, we give 5% back actually to protecting resources. So our conservation commitment is pretty important to us. And then we've been, again, just kind of morphing as we go. So we have a web business, still maintain catalog. We have, I think now we're at 70 retail stores in the U.S., a number of them over in the UK, and then we have hundreds of dealers, in the US and internationally that happen to sell Orvis product as well. It's been pretty great for us to get to leverage that network, both our own stores, but also the dealers that we work with. And then the other piece I think is pretty cool about Orvis is we have an endorsement program. So we have endorsed lodges, outfitters, guides across the country and internationally that we've vetted for our customers, that they know if they're using a fishing guide or a wing shooting guide that's part of our network, that they can feel confident and that they're going to have a really awesome experience. So that's kind of cool as well. And again, provides a great opportunity for us to leverage those folks that are incredibly knowledgeable when it comes to the sport. So that's kind of the neat, we have our hands in many things, I guess, from a channel perspective and a category perspective. But again, fly fishing and wing shooting is very important to Orvis.
I want to get back to the 50-50 on the water initiative. How did that come about and when did it begin?
Great question. So Orvis and other fly fishing manufacturers have been trying things in the women's fly fishing space for a lot of years, but about 3 years ago now, Steve Hempkins came to Jackie and I and asked if we would be willing to help him put this together because he spent a weekend with a phenomenal guide. Her name's Hillary Hutchison, fishing with her, and they were there as part of there was a group that was focused on things like conservation in the fly fishing space and trying to bring in new anglers. They had a number of topics that they were trying to drive around. So they spent, a day in a workshop and then had the opportunity to fish together. And Steve comes from a huge family with a lot of brothers and sisters. And the boys always did things like fishing and hunting, and his sisters never participated in those activities with him for one reason or the other. And after fishing with Hillary, he was like, wow, this is what it could have been like if one of my sisters fished, and how cool would that have been? And are there things I can be doing and Orvis can be doing to help make it easier for women to come into the sport and stay within fly fishing? So he came back to us and he was like, okay, I'm ready. Let's do this. And Jackie and I have been in the women's fly fishing space for a lot of years and doing what we can in terms of, education and networking and trying to bring women together. But it was neat to kind of have all these pieces and parts finally merge. And we recognize that having social media has had a huge impact on that because it's helped to bring communities of women together, on the web, whereas you might not run into, a woman on your local river, but you can find this network and, ask questions, bounce ideas, or choose to meet up on the water and make that intentional thing. So in any case, he came to us and we were like, okay, this is a pretty big deal. This is a huge project. We need some help. So we work with Lex Sanford, who's a great facilitator, and she's helped us to do some workshops and kind of do some research and some interviews and compile info and then bring it into a space where we can just throw a bunch of things on the wall and kind of see what the key themes were that have emerged. So we spent 2 days actually at our guide rendezvous in Missoula, Montana in April of 2016 with Lex and about 30 other women, and we'd pre-interviewed another 30 plus who could not attend the workshop, and kind of came out of that with the framework. We call it our blueprint for 50/50. And that was starting to get at, are there barriers for women coming into the sport? Are there specific things that really resonate with women in fly fishing, that we should try to leverage? Are there opportunities for us to provide certain resources or tools to help make it easier? So that's kind of where things started to shape, I think, really. So the idea about 3 years ago, but then coming out of April 2016 is where it was starting to look like what 50/50 is now. If that makes sense.
And so the ultimate goal behind this is to get gender parity in the sport of fly fishing. Is there like a time frame on this, or where did you start, and has there been any like visible progress this far?
Yeah, great question. So initially when Steve threw down the challenge, he just, I think more because it was a good, daring, catchy number. He said 50/50 by 2020. Mm-hmm. Now at the time, that was fall of 2015. And we decided that we were less focused on the specific year, but more that we wanted to see, progress, significant progress over the next few years, and just continue to push it there even faster than the way it's been trending, because women they're already the fastest growing segment within fly fishing. And we track that. We use the Recreational Boating and Fishing Foundation's annual report that they put out every year in July. So they published this July using 2017 data. And so we kind of use that as our baseline. So the one that just came out this July currently has women at 31% of fly anglers. And we see, I would say, about a percentage point increase each year. So we're really curious to see. We won't get a chance to see, the kind of the fruits of our efforts until the report's published next July. So we have to wait a little bit for the data. But yeah, just trying to nudge it there faster than the way it's been trending is kind of our commitment at this point.
You mentioned with Steve and his sisters not really having the opportunity or maybe even interest in getting out there and fishing growing up. But I was wondering, like, how there's so many women out there like that, where like maybe they grew up in a family where the dad fished but didn't really include them, or maybe not, maybe the family just didn't fish and they don't even know if it would be something that would be something they would enjoy. I was wondering, like, how would we reach those women that, because I think it's easier to encourage and foster women who already have some experience and like get them more involved and more active and give them more opportunity for education. But is there a way to reach these women that just haven't had any exposure to the sport yet? Yeah,
that's a great question. So one of the areas that we've focused on is authentic imagery and storytelling, and highlighting women who fly fish, because one of the issues that we found is that as women, again, as you're scrolling through social media or you're watching videos or what have you, the representation of women hasn't always been great. So you need to be inspired, I think, by those things as you're coming across them. If we could make a point to have more of that and showing all different kinds of women, right? Not just, 20-something super fit that you need to be, that, you don't want it to be perceived as a hardcore thing. It's something that anybody can get into, and you can hit the river for an hour on your way home from work. It doesn't need to be this, epic backcountry trip to, Montana that it takes a week, or going to Alaska, or, it's something that you can do in your own backyard. So that I think is definitely one area for sure.
I think with our programs, we're really trying to, looking outside in at the world of fly fishing can be very intimidating. It's like, where do I start? And we're trying to make it easy for women to fly fish. So you could walk into any of, an Orvis retail store and try a 2-hour free class called Fly Fishing 101 or FF 101s. And this year, actually, we have over 40 Orvis retail stores and endorsed dealers who are offering women's only FF 101s if they feel more comfortable with that. And basically, it's their chance to learn the basic cast of fly fishing, a few knots, how to rig a rod, basically the basics that can get them out on the water and maybe try it for themselves. Mm-hmm. And it's a free class. And between that and us building out, in addition to that, there are a lot of clubs, women's clubs popping up around the country. And so we're really trying to share those resources on our 50/50 website to make sure that women understand that, they can do this. They can come and try this. It's a non-judgmental space. It's an exciting and fun, and whether or not they feel comfortable going in and doing a co-ed class through our retail stores, or if they feel more comfortable in a women's only, we're really trying to expand on those programs for them.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then just to kind of layer onto that, the other piece that we're still trying to unlock, because as you mentioned, it's really easy, relatively, to come into fly fishing if you're already, whether you're a spin angler or you've been exposed to it, growing up, that's something that your family's done. We're trying to figure out how to break into more of the outdoor space in general. So to take folks that already like to get out and hike, or they like to take their kayaks out and paddle, or, any of those, it could be a nice, easy add-on to any of those activities, and trying to figure out how we could give them an opportunity to try it, like in our 101 type format, dip the toe in the water before they're ready to jump in, and kind of connect with those spaces. So we're still trying to figure out the best way to expose more women to fly fishing within that general outdoor space, not just within you've already come into fly fishing or into fishing in general, but how could we reach those women that have some sort of outdoor interest? So if you have any ideas on that front, we're totally open to that.
Right? Taking comments and suggestions.
Yeah, I love that idea of targeting women who are already interested in kayaking or something like that. I think that's a great path to take because they're already inclined to be outdoors. And I know so many people would love the opportunity to learn how to cast a fly rod. And I love that you're offering these free introductory courses. I had no idea about that. I hadn't seen that. So I think getting the word out about that, I think a lot of women would be super interested in checking that out. So we'll definitely, obviously we're sharing about it now on the podcast, but we also have a Facebook group, and I'll get the word out through that as well. So I think that's huge.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
And I love that you touched on that you're kind of trying to reshape the imagery that's out there, because I was just listening to a different podcast yesterday. It's called Fish Strong, and it's by the Salt Strong brothers down in Florida, Joe and Luke Simons. They were interviewing a captain, and that was a big thing that he brought up about the future of our industry, and that how we need to get more women and more children involved as well. And he said one of the biggest problems he sees is the presence of female anglers on Instagram or YouTube. They're in these bikinis and they're holding these fish, and a lot of women find that intimidating, and it kind of gives the perception that male anglers in the sport are kind of all about objectifying females. And so I love that you're part of this is trying to get, more realistic imagery out there.
And diversity too, right? That, that this is something that anybody can do. And if women want to be able to see themselves, and imagine themselves in that space and casting a fly rod and getting to be one with nature, we should be showing them different types of women, right? Different body sizes, different skill levels, different ethnicities, women fishing as groups of women or with their significant other, with their kids.
Even geographical locations,
Yep.
And with our hashtag 50/50 on the water, it's been really awesome to follow that on Instagram and watch all of these folks pop up in their new adventures in fishing, whether it's, young families or sisters fishing with each other. And it's been really such a positive thing to watch grow as people continue to use that hashtag across social media.
Another thing I was going to mention about that podcast I was listening to yesterday is Joe Simons from Salt Strong. They have a pretty big Facebook group, and it's over 54,000 members. And he said just the other day he was looking at the analytics, and I was wondering if either of you might have a guess of what percentage of those 54,000 group members were women.
Oh man, what percentage? I would 10.
Oh, you're so close. It was 9%, and I don't know. That just was shocking.
Yeah, it's a guess, but a little low overall, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. How can we help them to push that number up?
Right. Yeah. Exactly. So I mean, he was shocked and was like, we must be doing something wrong, but that's just the reality, I guess, of the kind of the numbers. Obviously, the numbers for fly fishing from our BFF were showing 31%, but it's just kind of interesting to see that. So,
well, and arguably too, with the 31%, I think it depending on where you are in the country. Yeah, I feel like it's not going to feel like 31%. You look around and you don't feel like you're seeing a third of all, fly fishermen or, as women. And to Joe's point, it's too bad that he feels that's the initial reaction of what are we doing wrong? I don't think that he's doing anything wrong. I think it's just a matter of if we all kind of hold hands and grow awareness and share, resources with each other of how to make it easy for women to get into the sport, and bring young families into the sport. I think it's just going to grow overall, even with seeing more female guides out there, and things like that. So, to Joe, I think he's doing all the right things. He's not doing anything wrong,
Yeah.
So.
And this isn't just a Orvis campaign. Really, you're spearheading it, but it's really an industry-wide thing. And you're getting other companies involved. What has the reception been like? Because I know overall it's not been without some controversy. Some people have kind of taken it the wrong way, we're trying to exclude men or whatever, but that's not what this is about at all.
Yeah, absolutely not. I mean, this is definitely not a battle of the sexes in any way. It's just our mission to introduce more people into the sport. And, that's why I love the name of the campaign overall. It's 50-50 on the water. We're looking for gender parity and equality across, genders within the sport. And I think, Chrissy, I think you'd agree that the industry reaction to this has been amazing overall.
Yeah, we Jackie and I spent a couple of days, would have been July of 2017, at the ICAST and IFTD show in Florida, walking around and talking to other brands. And everybody was like, yeah, absolutely, this makes sense for sure. Now's the time. Let's figure out how to do this right. And they recognized that it made sense for us to kind of kick this off, and that a lot of the pieces and parts that we needed to make it successful, Orvis already had a good jumping off point because we had things like our 101 program already in place, our online education resources and things like that. We just needed to figure out how we could do those a little bit better to be even more welcoming to women. So yeah, it's created these incredible partnerships with brands that, it comes down to it, they're our competitors, right? But everybody realizes that we all benefit. The entire industry, fly fishing as a whole benefits by bringing more women into the sport. Who wouldn't want more women on the water? Which has been pretty cool because that doesn't happen often, I feel like. You get into outdoor, and it's also created some opportunities for us to start to collaborate with folks outside of the fly fishing sphere, and talk to other brands that are looking to do the same thing in their sport, which has been pretty neat, and to learn from them and, some of the challenges that they've experienced or successes, and how we could each help each other to brainstorm and leverage those. So I don't know, that part has been pretty exciting.
Yeah.
And overall, too, Chrissy mentioned this earlier, too, is, as the industry introduces people into the sport, we hope to build conservationists. So, overall, it is great for everybody because you have more people aware of how to protect their natural resources. We go out and enjoy the outdoor world every day, or hopefully every day, and to give back to that immediately, once you join the sport is really, really important to Orvis and as well as the rest of the industry.
Yeah, that's huge. Does it seem like women tend to be more active on the conservation aspect of it, or is it about the same, or have you noticed a trend there at all?
We feel like from the women that we've interviewed, as part of that research phase of 50/50, that conservation and the idea of making the world a better place than how you came into it is really important to women. There is a little bit of that nurturing piece that it's kind of inherently female, it feels like. So we saw it as from talking to folks, it feels like a good gateway to bring people in through the idea of conservation. And also, as Jackie mentioned, we're committed to, if we're going to put more people onto the water and using the resource, we need to make sure that they're informed and are helping to protect it, that we're not just going to continue to deplete. And yeah, I think there definitely, women seem to be very leaned into that space. There are some incredible advocates when it comes to conservation that are women, and so we're just looking to create more of them and trying to partner with groups that are in that space, like Trout Unlimited or Artemis Sportswomen, which has kind of emerged over the last couple of years, and looking for opportunities to work with them and help to educate folks as they're coming in to fly fishing.
Well, I want to kind of start wrapping this up a little bit, but I mentioned earlier we have a Woman Angler and Adventure Facebook group, and I kind of gave them a heads up that we were going to be having this chat this morning, and a few of the group members had some comments that they wanted me to pass along. So first off, Deborah just wanted me to tell you thank you for carrying clothing that fits us curvier girls. And And Carrie wanted to know if you plan to expand your size selection for larger women and also for petite women. She noticed like the pant sizes stop at 18 and the tops at XL. And she's been seeing a lot of chatter in other outdoor groups from plus size women who are wanting gear that fits them. And the same deal for petite women and tall women. I imagine that's something that you're working on, but, I just wanted to throw that out there and see where y'all are at with that.
Great feedback. And yeah, it is something that's on our radar and that we've been working on, and hoping that we can launch some expanded sizing in the relatively near future. I've noticed like REI as an example has done a great job with that in the last 6 months or so. And as I mentioned, we are all ears. We are totally open to any and all of that feedback. So keep it coming, and we'll continue to pass it on to our product development team so they can build it into the next assortment.
Awesome. Amy wanted to know if you have any gauge as to what the job market is like for women fly fishing guides.
That's a great question. Well, first off, I just want to mention too something that we didn't touch on is when we launched this initiative, we kind of gave an I dare you to the industry, and we challenged them to do one of four things in the first year of this, and it was host women's classes and trips and events. But in addition to that, to mentor an up and coming woman in the industry, whether she's in your fly shop or she's a new guide just starting out, or she's in your company within the industry. And I think that that's an important thing to keep in mind as we move forward. We want to see more women leaders within the industry as well as boots on the ground as far as female guides. And I think there's a rise. Yeah, I feel, it's kind of hard to put a number on it, but it feels like it's been growing. And there are definitely, again, with our great network, it feels like our dealers and our endorsed network has made that a focus to try and, again, mentor and support women that are looking to come into it as an occupation. And there have been some cool things like that weren't even on my radar. There are guide schools across the country, and it seems like they're having more and more women come through their program and get the skills that they need so that they can go and apply to be guides for outfitters or lodges and what have you. So it feels like it's definitely on the rise. Always an opportunity to grow it even more, for sure.
Cool. And then finally, Alicia wanted me to thank you for working with Fishyware. I think that's how you say it. She said their sling pack is so beautiful. I hope they'll be doing more work in the future with Fishyware and other women-owned companies.
Oh, thanks, Alicia. We are really jazzed about that sling pack too. It's definitely one of the most touched pieces at trade shows when we go, by men and women. And we work pretty closely with Linda Leary, who's the owner of Fishyware out of Anchorage, Alaska. And we're keeping the partnership going and looking to collaborate on more pieces in the future, as well as keeping other women's, female-owned companies in mind too. So thanks for your feedback there.
Awesome. Well, how can listeners help out there promote this cause, and where can they go to find out more?
Great. So Jackie mentioned the hashtag earlier. The hashtag is 50/50 on the water. So please share photos of your adventures and help to inspire other women. We also have a website, orvis.com/5050. And on that space, we've got, we'll be sharing and continuing to share stories of female anglers, video content. We have our events and classes space on there. So any of the classes that we're hosting across the country or women's focused events, hosted trips will be listed on there if you're interested in any of those. And then if you have any feedback for us, we're all ears. We have a dedicated email account that we keep track of. So if you guys have comments or questions, please send them to 5050@orvis.com. We'd love to hear your thoughts. And
take a woman fishing.
Yeah, that's the basic. Take a friend fishing, or a sister, or your mom, or
go explore one of our free FF 101s together.
Yep.
Yeah, that would be fun. That would be a great girls' outing, to get a group of friends together and go check that out and just experience and learn something new,
Yeah, absolutely. I had a group a couple weekends ago. It was a group of friends that were in Vermont, on holiday together, and they had a blast.
Awesome.
So it was a good time.
Well, thank you both so much for taking time out of your busy schedule to be on the show. We fully support your 50/50 mission, and anything we can do to help further the cause, we're all about it. And wish you the best of luck, and thank you again for doing all you're doing to help get more women out there fly fishing.
Thank you so much. Thanks for having us.
Appreciate it.
All right, so you heard them. The best ways to help out this campaign is to spread the word by using the 50/50 on the water hashtag, introduce someone you know to the sport of fly fishing, or even better, get a group of women together and go check out one of those free Fly Fishing 101 classes that Orvis offers. Links to all these things and some photos are in the show notes, which you can find at thewomanangler.com/27. Please be sure to tune in next week. In the meantime, I wish you all the success in your outdoor pursuits.